So I'm going to check and make sure it's on Facebook Live. Come on, baby. Come on, you can do this. Here we go. We are live. This is Comic Spot. I'm Linda Marcus Smith. And today, every time he takes the stage, I can kick back and know I'm going to be entertained. And I love it. Today, our guest is Brandon Hahn. And he also goes by the name, everyone here knows him by Gooch, right?
Hey, that's me.
Yes.
That's me.
Oh my gosh, Brandon, I want to
Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, thank you for coming. Are you kidding me? I want to read the intro that you sent me. Brandon is also Gooch, is afternoon personality on KOMP 92.3, the rock station in Las Vegas, co-host of 2 podcasts, Rise to Offend and the Mental Sucks podcast.
The Metal Sucks podcast. Did I put an N in there? Metal Sucks podcast.
I did. The Metal Sucks podcast. And the host of the Stupid Town comedy show every Friday at the LA Comedy Club in the Stratosphere. Oh my gosh, this guy is so hilarious. Welcome him, Brandon Hahn. Woo!
Hey, wow, I feel good. Look at that. Where does he go? Not going to be out through the door.
Talk to me about who you were growing up and where. I want to hear the story, how you became this.
Well, I was born in Toledo, Ohio, lived out there for 11 years, and my parents moved me out to Vegas on my 12th birthday. And, you know, it wasn't easy. I mean, coming from the Midwest, there was, I had a mullet, Bugle Boy jeans. Like everybody was wearing Z Cavariccis and curling up the tips of their pant legs. It was out of control, but but I dealt with that. And then just once the one thing led to another, I got into comedy. And then maybe a year after that, I got into comedy when I was 19. Then a year after that, radio came along. So comedy took a little bit of a back burner, but I was still doing it all the time. And, but yeah, then radio and then the two just, I ended up getting after in around 2007, and everything just kind of worked out.
That's great. So how did you go from not being on stage to being on stage and doing radio?
So comedy came first. I was 19, and my best friend, he lied to me. He said that he had a frat. And this is the thing, he was never a frat boy, but he was a part of a frat because of a friend like kind of pressured him into joining. So he's like, all right, I'll join your stupid frat. And then like a week before they were getting ready to get like signed in or whatever it is, the one friend like quit. So then my buddy's like, I got like a week left. Let me just do this stupid thing. So he's in the frat, and then he lies to me, and he's like, look, man, the frat's throwing this big old party at this bar. And I was only 19, and I'm like, oh, am I allowed to be in there? He's like, no, it's fine. And then he's like, they put me in charge of the comedy portion, and I don't know anything. So you're the funniest guy I know. So just get up there and do stand up. And I go, I don't have any jokes. And he's like, it's all right. Just tell that one story about that one thing. And I'm like, all right. And I just went, and we went down there, and we got at 10 o'clock. I didn't get up on stage till 3 in the morning. And it was because the guy, Davio, he let everybody do like 20, 30 minutes each. And then by the time I got up, took forever. And then a year later, radio came aboard. I just started calling up, and, and the lady was like, hey, I like you. Come on down. And one thing led to another. She gave me the nickname Gooch, and then one thing led to another. And I just kind of just hung around and lucked out.
Wow. So how did you get this funny with the jokes? Because you're hysterical.
Oh, well, I'm honored by that. A lot of failing, a lot of trial and error. It's every comic will tell you that. I don't know too many people. The people I know that are like just funny right off the bat, just funny, like they just being around them makes you laugh and stuff. It's like those people don't have to try. Like I think I had to try a little bit. Like I had to get an attitude adjustment and realize that, the whole artist thing I was doing where it's like, oh, they don't like it, screw them. And I'm like, well, they are the paying audience. And if they don't like it, then I'm not going to get paid. I got to conform a little bit to and I just kind of, I still kind of try to remain true to myself, and then just try to add in a little bit of, like compromise where I could still keep my identity,
Yes. What do you call your identity or your persona that's developed?
Um, just being confident, just believing what you're saying. I mean, there's a way of, like, if you've been in comedy for as long as I've been in, I mean, I'm 41 and I started when I was 19. I mean, it's like, I've been a long time. So I've seen just a lot of different acts and stuff. And there is a way of bombing where it is poetic, and you bomb and you still look like you're in charge, like people, like you might bomb and people still might look at you from the stage and go, "What? Yeah, but I might not be laughing, but I still respect what he's saying."
Yes.
It's just, there is a way of doing it while you keep your self-respect, and I think that's probably the biggest thing that I could tell people, because back in the day when I was bombing, I'd pull a total amateur move and turn on the audience and, "Oh, look at this guy's stupid hat, and look at this chick in her shoes," or what. I mean, I just try to take whatever attention there was off the bombing, and I'm like, no, just embrace it.
One time I went to, before I started comedy 7 years ago, I was watching a guy at an open mic, and he was bombing, and he was saying everything his head was telling him. Like, I should just go home and kill myself. And literally, he was like, I don't know.
Right.
And so I just had a little bit too much of that. So with that, I heckled him. I didn't know what heckling was, but I said, just make fun of us Jews.
Right. I'm sure that'd probably throw me off a little bit. Like, make fun. Wait, excuse me? I mean, yeah.
He started making fun of the Jewish people, and it was hysterical.
So you saved the day.
And I thought, what am I doing in the audience? I need to go.
So the Jews saved the day by allowing themselves to be made fun of. Oh, what a sacrifice.
It's okay if we give consent. These are.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, please. There's got to be consent first, right? Don't just start forcing your jokes on people, especially of a certain ethnicity. No, the lady said it was funny. Meanwhile, you're at the bank. I'm like, no, that doesn't work like that.
Do you have a favorite joke, or do you have a joke that never really works and you refuse to give it up because it's so you?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I have jokes like that. I always like to test the waters a little bit. I always like to say what people aren't expecting, and sometimes like that is the wrong thing to say, what they're not expecting. So I do. There are jokes out there that I know will be funny one day, and I still just kind of crowbar them in there, because right now with the whole coronavirus and everything, like, the only stage time I'm getting is like, 5 minutes here, or I'm hosting my own show. So it's like, and when you're hosting, you're not going to be able to work out I mean, you could work out new material, but if it's long-winded, it's like, that's where it's going to get stuck. Like, if it's a story or something, it's going to be kind of hard to crowbar that in there and into an opening set. But you just, I just want to do what I want to do. I want to do what makes it fun, and I always want to keep it fun. The second it becomes work, and the second I start realizing I'm doing it for the money, then I don't feel as funny.
Exactly. What makes you create a joke? Do you hear the punchline first, the premise? What happens with your brain?
It's so weird, because I'll be watching a movie about dinosaurs and I'll go, "Oh yeah, I got this joke about Ritz crackers." And it's like, and it's just, there's certain words. Like, sometimes there's a joke just sitting right there on your frontal lobe, and then some weird thing like, "Oh, bobblehead. Oh, got that joke about, LeBron James," or whatever, and it's like, then you just write a joke. It just, everything just kind of, it's so weird how a joke just kind of finds itself. But a joke is always, for me, it's always based on real life or things that I see, and I don't force it. Like, there is a fine line between doing enough joke and saying it out enough times to when you realize what words to use and what the timing is. That's important. And obviously you want to get that muscle, you want to be more confident with the joke, but don't force it though. Like, I see people Like you'll see a lot of people just try and intentionally be edgy. And I'm like, if you're not an edgy person, don't do it. Don't do it.
Be true to who you are and be
Yes. Okay, I'm going to bring this up. The second, I got a podcast called Rise to Offend, and what it is, it's a documentary podcast. It's not a comedy podcast. And what we do is we follow figures who rose to offend in society, and we talk about their legacy today. And we talk about political figures like Steve Biko, and we talk about Marilyn Manson and Old Dirty Bastard. Well, now we're doing Charles Bukowski, and Charles Bukowski has this thing on his tombstone. It says, "Don't try." He was a poet, and it's like, and he's telling artists, he's like, don't try. And what he means by that is he goes, if you have to tell yourself to work, if you have to motivate yourself to do your art, you're trying. Don't do that. Doing your art is just going to be about just doing. You have to, just like you have to breathe. You don't tell yourself to breathe. You just do it naturally. So for him, it was getting in front of the typewriter and just writing poems day in and day out, all day, every day. Because he wasn't trying. That's all he knew. And because there's going to be a lot of trial and error. There's going to be a lot of failure. So the more you put out, the more chance you have of winning. That's kind of the way I look at it. And he wasn't even looking at it in a stance of winning and losing. He's just putting it out as much as he possibly can. And the more you try and the more you just do, and the less you try, the better the results. And if you have to try, that hurts you.
Wow.
That hurts you, you know, like, so it's a complicated thing. It's a complicated thing being creative.
Yes. Well, Rise to Offend, your podcast, what's been your favorite person in history to just tear down?
Tear down. It's crazy because that show will make me go into something where I'm 100% on their back. And I'm like, yep, I got him. And then the more I read about him, I'm like, oh no, like Old Dirty Bastard was I loved him when I was a kid. And then you end up finding out all the stuff that was going on in the back. And you're like, he was crazy. Like, he was a mean guy. He wasn't like, but then you look at people I don't like politically. I look at Ann Coulter. We did Ann Coulter. And I don't like her. But I ended up realizing how much I respected someone like that because of how she came up and how, I mean, being a woman talking head, she was like the first one that was constantly camera ready to go. And she took full advantage of it, and she outworked a lot of people. You got to give her credit for that, even if you disagree with her politics.
Absolutely. What about Tanya Harding?
Oh man, well, there's just too much there. There's a movie there, you know, like it's a movie we can make fun of, and the whole thing. Tanya Harding. I mean, then there was the porn. She did like a porn right on her wedding night. Like what? I don't know. God, that was a while ago. I'd have to do some more research on Tanya Harding. That might be a good topic. That might be a good one.
Have you done Hitler?
No. You see, we try not to do like the easy ones. So we did Steve Biko. Now, Steve Biko, like on the outside, you're like, what? Why would he offend? But back in apartheid, the things he was doing for equality did upset a lot of the people out there. A lot of let me be for sure, a lot of the white people out there, like, I don't like him, you know. So he was pissing off a lot of people that because he just wanted equality, wanted to be treated like a human being. So that was probably my favorite episode that I learned about, because I didn't even know how important he was to that movement. We always heard about Nelson Mandela, but Steve Biko gets a little bit of credit when he should get a lion's share of it. I mean, Peter Gabriel wrote a song about Steve Biko. I guess that's a good starting point, but you know.
You know who I want to hear about is I want to know about President Obama's African interpreter.
Okay, let me go do a deep dive into that. Let me do a deep dive.
Oh my gosh. You're lucky that I'm not writing for you, because I would take you on so many rabbit trails, you know. Jimmy Hoffa.
Yeah, one thought per break. One thought, you know. Let's narrow it down. I got too much attention deficit. If we're going to go down the Jimmy Hoffa route, let's just stick with the Jimmy Hoffa route.
So your other podcast, tell me about that. You've got Rise to Offend. There's
Rise to Offend, and there's the Metal Sucks podcast, which, by the way, both of them I do with a person that's been on the show before, Jocelyn Sharp. She's also a co-host of mine. And we have me, Petter Spike, Jocelyn, or Sylvia. Jocelyn and Sylvia kind of interchange because Jocelyn's on the road. So sometimes when she's on the road, Sylvia comes in and vice versa. But the Metal Sucks, we just talk about metal music, and that's a fun podcast. That's where we do, like, the three of us get together, we make a little bit of fun on some of the Metal Sucks news, and then my buddy Pete does a really in-depth interview with an artist. So
Wow.
yeah.
So what would you like to say? This is kind of a short interview today. You've got 7 minutes that you can do whatever you want. Talk to people about humanity, about what plans you have in the future, the worst kind of people that come to a comedy club, how to behave when you go out, how you feel about the PC culture, anything you want to say. I'd like to give you the floor for 7 minutes.
Okay. This is the only thing I just try to tell people. If somebody puts me on the spot, because I just want to make the world better around me. And I don't want to do it but when people say they want to make the world better around them, it's almost like they want to snap their fingers and get their way. And when I say about that is, like, just know the message that you're putting out there. Understand, like, what kind of emotions you're putting out there. If you're putting out negative emotions and you're expecting some kind of revolution, like, you're going to get treated with more negative emotions. Like, you got to understand everything has a reaction. So, for example, like, I don't like when people just blast other comics. Like, it's not that I'm upset at the comics, but I don't like comics, like, fighting amongst each other online, because it's like, it kind of takes away what we do. Like, I just want to make people laugh. But here's the thing, I can understand with those people why they're doing it, because they're providing entertainment to the masses. So it's like, if people want to watch them argue, let them watch them argue. I'm not going to tell them not to do that. I'm just saying, it's amazing how these people will put out an insult or a jab and then be shocked when one comes back at them. It's like, just know what you're doing. Understand that understand your actions are going to be met with a reaction. And a lot of people just don't get that. And a lot of people will make an action in the name of equality, or they'll do it in the name of religious rights or something. And they don't understand that they're inspiring the wrong type of person. And it's pretty easy to get your point across without while letting everybody know that you have boundaries. It's pretty easy to do that. But a lot of people just want to say the inflammatory thing because that's clickbait.
Yes. So when you're out there and you see people fighting online or in person, do you ever step in and give them a hint, or do you just sit back and just let it ride?
I don't get involved. I used to step in, but that's me telling them how to live. That's me telling them how to live. I'm not going to tell anybody how to live. If somebody has a certain political agenda, if I don't like it, I'm like, all right. Now, granted, if they keep posting about it, if they keep trying to cram their opinion down my throat, I'm like, look, I'm going to have to block you. I'm going to have to move on. If this is what you want your identity to be, I can't be around it. If you want to get back to being happy and fun loving, I'm fine with that. But the more you keep trying to jam your opinion down my throat, it's just not going to work.
Not at all.
And yeah. And when it comes to comics fighting and stuff, it's usually over the tiniest misunderstanding. And then when you look back on it, you're like, was it worth dragging this person's name through the mud, and then in turn having them drag your name through the mud just because you disagreed over who wrote what joke, or because you think this person is going to make a better leader than this person? It's like, you couldn't have. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
None at all.
And it's hard enough as it is to come up in this business. Why make enemies?
That's right. Well, where can people find you? You're at the Stratosphere.
I'm at the Stratosphere in Las Vegas every Friday night at midnight. That's my comedy show called Stupid Town. This week we have Spencer James headlining this Friday at midnight. And then my podcast, it's Rise to Offend. It's on Facebook. It's on Google Play and iTunes and Stitcher and all that stuff. And then and same thing with Rise to Offend. And then there's Metal Sucks too. They're always on all the podcasting platforms.
Wonderful. And do you have any plans on going back on tour? I know you're a proven road comic.
No, that's the thing. Like, I've done the road. I just don't like doing the road. So I don't have any plans on doing the road. I think I just want to kind of just build here in Vegas.
Good for you.
Yeah.
You're a real treat. And if you're out there, I don't care what town you're in, when you come to Vegas, figure out how to get in front of him, because he puts on a great show for you.
Oh,
Brandon
thank you so
Hahn.
much.
I
Thank
love
you so much.
Thank you so
I
much.
appreciate it. Thank you. You guys be good.
Bye.
Bye-bye.